visibility has really improved, at least over the last 40.
Like heat in your apartment. Call the mayor's.
Later on.
I always think that I'm getting older in there.
Inch. So they're going to be making some money here this year. Reporting live from Logan Airport, I'm Victoria.
Haven't stopped ringing in our newsroom. Many of you have questions about what is still up and running and what perhaps has fallen victim to the snow. It's a no-school day for everybody, but a lot of people do have to work, and they probably want to know about planes, trains, buses, and stuff. And Andrea Brody is at the information desk now. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning again, Frank. A potpourri, if you will, of information to pass your way this morning. Let's start with the travel, the planes, trains, etc. At TF Green, we're told the runway is just in a beautiful shape. One problem, there are no planes to use it. As of this morning, only 2 jets sat poised to take off, and no word of any coming in. Some airlines, like American, have canceled all flights in and out of Green until tomorrow morning. As for escaping to Logan, forget it. It's closed until at least 2, as are many airports along the East Coast. Turning to Amtrak, it's running on a Saturday schedule, but there is a hitch. We checked on one train. It was 3 hours late. If you're trying to leave the drive into someone else, don't try Bonanza until later. Buses are not rolling out of Providence at least until after 10. Some good news at least. RIPTA buses are, on the other hand, are moving this morning. We're told you can count on them. Okay, some other checks.
College closed today.
No school, Burrillville, Central.
At City Hall is our mayor. Good morning, Amaya, and good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, Liz. Yes, Mayor Menino was kind enough to just trudge across City Hall Plaza to talk with us, which was not an easy thing to do if you've ever been on City Hall Plaza during a storm. Mayor Menino, update us on the situation.
We have 400 pieces of equipment out in the streets of our city trying to keep them passable. The main arterial routes in the city of Boston are in good shape. It's the residential streets that are impassable this time, but working together we'll get through the storm.
I know
government's agents disrupted phone service to Ayash. When he sent his cell phone to be fixed, they rigged a replacement phone with explosives. Today in Jerusalem, a $200 million gift from the U.S. to Israel. After meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Shimon Peres, Defense Secretary William Perry said the money would go to develop the Israeli Arrow anti-ballistic missile.
Vaccine at this hour. We know that traffic on the Mass Pike has been asked not to move any faster than 40 miles per hour.
But long-distance plans that charge...
I think after the storm's done, people want the residential streets plowed. Where we're going to put the snow, that's one of the big questions we have.
As mayor of San Francisco today, and at Graceland in Memphis, ceremonies marking the 61st.
In spots, numerous accidents to report. We're taking a look at downtown, the Central Artery. As you can see, light volume. The lower deck, we do have a problem. A 3-car accident approaching the lower deck near the Somerville Housing Project. That's right before Assembly Square Mall, and that is causing delays through Medford, making your way down to that point. Let's take a look at the maps, and we'll take a look outside the city and find some other problem areas. 128 northbound, pretty much from 95 in Canton all the way up into the Waltham area. Numerous spin-out accidents, very slow through this area, and as Todd was telling us with the forecast, really getting crunch with snow in this spot. Same thing in the South Shore, Route 3. We had to close down for a period of time this morning to remove a jackknife tractor trailer. They've reopened. A month.
More than that.
Our extended News Channel 10 update.
Coverage of Blizzard 96 is far from over. You can see the whiteout conditions on 95.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Dressing for success takes on new meaning when employees around southern New England dress to cure leukemia.
For more snow after today in the forecast, a couple inches on Wednesday and the possibility of another storm on the weekend.
I think we're just going to have to put a muzzle on them. You know what I mean? Standing by on the phone now is News 4 reporter Susan Davidson. She is in Revere. Good morning, Susan. What can you tell us?
Joe, good morning. We are here in Revere down by Elliott Circle on Dolphin Ave. Within the next hour at around 9 o'clock, Revere fire officials will be evacuating an elderly housing complex.
10 degrees, hence the change in headgear for me. I have the much more warmer WBZ down jacket on with the hood now. But I think that would be the biggest difference at this point.
You do look warm. in spite of the weather. All right, Roby, thank you very much. As you can see, near whiteout conditions, blowing and drifting snow, blizzard conditions from Boston south this morning, but from Route 9 north, and we'll take a look at a picture right now of Route 9 in Framingham. You can see that it looks very much like many of the other storms we've weathered already this winter of 95, 96. People are heading into work, but be advised that the worst of this snowstorm has yet to hit. Mid to late morning this morning is when Barry Burbank and Ed Carroll tell us the most snow accumulations will come for areas north and west of the city. So we'll be back to update the forecast and get some other live reports from our other reporters in just a moment.
You'll discover that classes at Fisher College are fun, enlightening, and very helpful for a successful future. Enroll in a degree or certificate program, or take just one course. Let Fisher prepare you to compete in today's tight employment market. Fisher College is among the largest independent multi-campus systems in the country. Fisher College has 11 campuses throughout Massachusetts. Fisher College. We're saving a seat for you.
Wedding disasters.
Oh my God, Shawty, your hair's on fire. And we got there, all you can see was this yellow crime tape around the church.
Things they'd rather forget.
When I bent over, a huge snot dropped.
That you'll have to see to believe.
We have it on videotape, audience.
So Judy Tenuta helps us give them a wedding to remember.
We're gonna do the wedding polka!
On Jenny Jones.
Today at 9 on TV4.
A spirit of teamwork. That's what makes the Home Depot.
Morning, Bev.
Good morning, Liz. Well, one thing's for sure, we're not riding the usual seesaw we ride at Logan Airport, telling you it's open, closed, open, closed. It's just plain closed and will be for several more hours. And even if they do get things rolling sometime this afternoon, don't expect a lot of activity because a lot of airlines have canceled their flights for much of the rest of the day, and you can imagine the backlog that is created. There were passengers here trying to get on flights to East Coast destinations yesterday, and a lot of those destinations just shut down because those airports were in the storm's path. They're looking for seats. And now, of course, today, plenty more stranded passengers looking for seats. It's all just one big headache.
We left out of Charlotte trying to get to New York, and the airports in New York were closed, so they brought us here.
And now what?
And now I called a friend in Rhode Island, and he's coming to get me.
When can you get another flight?
I don't know. They don't know.
What are the prospects for the next couple of days?
Well, they told us we won't get out of here now until 4:05 on Tuesday at the earliest. So I'm just going to make the best of it.
Do you have a place to stay?
Yes, days in, hopefully. If the best comes, when it comes.
So you're trying to change your flight?
Yeah, in other words.
You're just trying to get out of here fast.
To get there.
Another squad was sent into Northier to respond to my place. 4 months later, I received.
Sure. Okay. All righty. I'm here. Bye-bye now.
This afternoon, high tide blew into Scituate's Sand Hill neighborhood with awesome force.
The seawall, it's usually guarded right there with some wood, but that broke through in December 20th storm. Now that's all open so the surf can come right through.
As you can see.
How are you guys feeling here? We feel pretty safe.
This house has been here 7 years and survived every storm, no matter the season. These three friends didn't want to leave and were going to ride the storm out next to a roaring fire while keeping a close eye to the sea.
We have another hour to go yet before high tide, and that makes us a little nervous here too. But we've lived through the high tides here before, and we haven't had a whole lot of problems. So just kind of waiting it out and hoping for the best here. If it gets too bad, we'll certainly move inland further.
High tides flooded basements along Minot Beach. Power was lost in some areas, and although there was a voluntary evacuation, few people took advantage of a warm and dry high school.
Tell me what it was like in order to convince you to leave.
We couldn't see out the windows. The wind was howling. It was the house was shaking. The bureau was shaking. It was really stormy.
And it continues to be very stormy down here tonight. This is along Minot Beach, just some of the neighborhoods that have been flooded out, low-lying coastal areas. They've got not only to dig out, many of these are summer homes, they're also going to have to get the water out of these basements once it thaws. Certainly as temperatures drop, this will freeze in their basements, making just a miserable situation. Reporting live from Scituate, I'm Ted Wayman. John and Virginia, back to you.
So Ted, because most of the homes behind you are summer homes, they are vacant right now?
Most of them are vacant. There is one hardy soul living here just next door. They were able to make it through the high tide. You can see they still have lights on. They did not lose power down there. But some of the folks you saw in our story that they were actually they're renters staying in those summer homes. They were able to stay there all day, did not have to evacuate. But at one point, they did have waves coming over that shoreline home. They were afraid that they were going to lose a lot of things inside because of the flooding. We talked to them about an hour ago. They made it through the storm, and at this point, they're going to stay there through the night.
All right, thanks very much, Ted Wayman. Ted is staying on the scene down there in Scituate. You can see that the wind is starting to pick up again. He'll update us at 6 o'clock.
We've seen the impact around Boston, around Massachusetts. Consider the fact that this storm and its major impact stretches all the way from Maine down into the southeast. This is a biggie, and Bruce Schwegler is here right now to tell us what more we have left. Bruce?
Okay, we're wrapping it up now, John, but we're going to be going with another inch or two of snowfall here in much of our area right on through the first part of this evening before it all winds down. I would say 9 o'clock and beyond, just some flurries, and after midnight we'll start seeing some breaks in the moon. Now, we do have a lot of data to tell you, so let's get right to it, and first of all show you the radar. And we are seeing some precipitation that continues to rotate in here on these screens here, and as it continues to rotate in, we are seeing some heavier bands that are developing and continuing to pummel the South Shore. Ted was just talking about down there in the Scituate area. As we look closer here, you can see this heavier band, not only there, but it extends all the way down through Narragansett Bay to eastern Long Island. Note there are very few of them farther to the west, although there are still some bands up in there. Just got a report of moderate snow up at Center Harbor, New Hampshire, up in here. So this is all rotating around and will continue to do so, but it'll fade out at around 9 p.m., and that's going to be about it. Now, when it's all done, these are our ranges of 18 to 26 inches of new snowfall, 12 to 18 Boston area northward on into southern New Hampshire, especially the New Hampshire coastline, 6 to 12, but dropping off rapidly in the Manchester area and northward. As we check out some flow that's coming out of the northeast here along the coast, it'll tend to hit those higher 1 a.m. South Shore and also up on Cape Ann. And farther to the west, of course, we're just about over with that total snowfall accumulation. Now, here we are with the snowfall so far at 17 inches at Logan Airport. That ties an all-time record of snow on the ground with the stuff that was on the ground already. We are recording 29 inches of snowfall on the ground, and that ties the record set back just after the blizzard of 1978. 18 to 24 inches off to our south, Fall River, New Bedford in particular. 8 to 16 as you head northward. Ipswich just called in with some 16 inches of snow. 12 to 22 in the Worcester area westward. Jackpot, Great Barrington at 31 inches of new snowfall. 14 to 18 down across much of Cape Cod and the island. 6 to 12 as you head up through Hampton and continuing on up through York County and Maine. 8 to 15 out through the Monadnock region. So our forecast for tonight calls for the snow ending. Frigid conditions with a north-northwesterly wind at 15 to 25, causing the blowing and drifting. 12 in the city. Single numbers north north and west. And coming up for your inbound commute tomorrow, snow-packed roads, but lots of sunshine. Temperatures even more frigid as we head out into the suburbs. That's the way it looks from here, except I also look a little further and see some light snow tomorrow night. I'll tell you more about it shortly. I'll see you then.
Standing
Quote. On the narrow streets of Beacon Hill, parked cars still buried from past storms got dumped on again. City officials put out the call for residents to help keep streets open for emergency vehicles.
Oh, about 2 to 2.5 feet on the ground. Hartford over 2.5 feet, and in some cases approaching 3 feet in some of these bedroom communities of Hartford, Connecticut. Just amazing snowpack for the early part of January.
Tomorrow morning we ask you to take mass transit, but if you have to drive...
The advice of city officials and stayed home. Even so, the blizzard of 96 nearly paralyzed the city. My colleague has more.
From the Back Bay to the neighborhoods, Boston seemed caught in a literal freeze frame.
Boston leaving the...
To meet someone who's going to be helping us out. His name is Joe, and he's...
Filadelfia, que se mantiene cerrado, Logo en Boston, Richmond en Virginia y también en Durham, California del Norte va a permanecer cerrado. Así que por favor, las personas que viajen no se olviden de llamar antes al aeropuerto. Ahora regresamos con Mirka y con María Celeste.
Muchas gracias, Lourdes.
Bueno, y ahora continuamos nuestra cobertura especial en vivo y vamos de inmediato con John Morales para que nos hable sobre este fenómeno.
John, cuéntanos de dónde viene, a dónde va y qué podemos esperar.
Tenemos la buena noticia esta tarde de que la tormenta se va a estar alejando, no sin antes, claro, haber dejado todas estas acumulaciones increíbles de nieve que tenemos aquí en pantalla. Estamos hablando de hasta 2 pies de nieve en una amplia zona de la costa atlántica de los Estados Unidos, desde el estado de Virginia, cerca de Washington, D.C., ciudad severamente afectada por esta tormenta, a través de Filadelfia, donde definitivamente ha sido la tormenta del siglo, rompiendo o batiendo todos los récords de acumulación de nieve. Más de 30 pulgadas llevan en Filadelfia hasta ahora, y esto se está moviendo hacia el noreste, dentro de la ciudad de Nueva York como tal, 2 pies más o menos, pero en Elizabeth, que es una ciudad cerca de Nueva York, prácticamente un suburbio de la ciudad, ya tienen 32 pulgadas de nieve. Todo esto se está moviendo hacia el noreste y está afectando el sur de Nueva Inglaterra esta tarde. Otras cantidades, acumulación de nieve, las tienen aquí en pantalla, tal vez más impresionantes. Esto más bien en zonas un poco más montañosas. West Virginia, 43 pulgadas, prácticamente 3 pies y medio de nieve de una sola tormenta. Snowshoe, West Virginia, 38 pulgadas. Ahí ven la cantidad de Elizabeth que les estaba diciendo, 32 pulgadas de nieve. Como les digo, buena noticia, se aleja la tormenta y tendremos el pronóstico completo dentro del segmento del tiempo de Primer Impacto. Por el momento, regresamos a ustedes.
Así será. Muchas gracias, John.
Bueno, y la policía mexicana arrestó ayer a un individuo armado que quiso atentar contra la vida del presidente de México, Ernesto Zedillo.
Today, and not all the victims were elderly. Some were in their 40s, so this is a warning for everyone. There's a lot of snow out there to shovel. Take the wind. It's been a night. News Center 5.
Sunshine at about 30, 40 miles an hour. Reporting live from the Southeast Expressway.
It was the flu hour.
All right, thank you, Casey. Virginia?
Well, John, like the South Shore, the North Shore braced for some coastal flooding during high tide. WBC's Susan Davidson joins us now from Revere with the very latest on conditions. Susan?
Good evening, Virginia. Right now, the wind is continuing to whip up, and it is bitter cold here near the water. But all in all, Revere fared fairly well in this blizzard. This afternoon, of course, the main concern was the high tide, which hit here around 12:40 this afternoon, sending waves crashing over the break wall. There was some flooding, in fact, some major flooding of Winthrop Parkway. The parkway had to be shut down at noon. We understand just in the last few minutes it has been reopened. Some residents packed up and left their homes, playing it safe.
A flood downstairs 4 feet, usually that's what I get. I lose everything that's downstairs. But packing up and heading out. Dog, kids, cats.
I'll ride it out, probably.
Not going to evacuate?
No. Once it gets really bad, I will. I've been through it for like 30 years, 27 years, so I'm used to it by now.
Now, the majority of residents chose to stay put and ride out the storm, although some did choose to evacuate. The only mandatory evacuations, that of an elderly complex at around 9 o'clock this morning, Liston Towers, and those residents are back at home tonight. Within the last hour, they have been allowed back in. And as we said, Winthrop Parkway, which suffered major flooding here, has been reopened. Now in Revere, of course, one of the landmarks is Kelly's here on the Parkway, and believe it or not, that's how some folks chose to spend this storm. Many folks came out in this weather to have some chowder and to share stories and to look at the water. Virginia, back to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Susan. Well, down on the Cape in Chatham, a 1-2 punch, blizzard conditions and some dangerous surf. Fortunately, though, high tide passed this afternoon with no serious damage from the storm, only some minor flooding reported. And no widespread evacuations were necessary. Still, the waves got close to this home right on the ocean, but it's okay as well as other homes in that area.
And right now, let's find out how the evening commute is going. Here's Rich Kirkland at the WBZ.
Fat-free cookie. Best to get down to bare pavement. But on the side streets, it's a
driven this road hundreds of times, but I never really noticed it until about 6 weeks ago, around the time I started using Ginsana. Ginsana is a natural supplement. My daughter gave me a box. Said it helps my body use oxygen better. It makes the most of my natural energy. All I know is I feel better, more alive. Ginsana opened my eyes to a more energetic me, and to all this.
Feel your Ginsana, the original all-natural energizer.
Cape 23 degrees there with 43-mile-per-hour winds. And Worcester, snowing there, snowing in Portsmouth at the present time. The storm is moving away, but it's slowly moving away, and we're getting the western edge of the storm as it moves away. I mean, this is an awful lot of snow. Middleborough, 23 inches, Plymouth, 22. Boston, officially about an hour ago, had 29 inches of snow on the ground. I do believe we're going to break the all-time snow depth record because it may snow another inch or two in Boston. Officially, so far, 17. They may end up with close to 18 or 19 at Logan when it's all over. 18 inches in the North Shore. It gets down when you get over to Brattleboro, Vermont, where they only had 3, but in the Berkshires, there was anywhere from 19, 20 inches, and some of the higher terrain got as much as 30 inches of snow. Worcester about 16, Hopkinton 18 to 20 in that area, Fitchburg about 15 inches. No matter where you went, it was very snowy today. Tomorrow in the teens and 20s and very low 30s, and we are looking at the radar, we will be, and you will see that the area seems to be just shrinking a bit as the storm moves out. Believe me, this all will end around midnight or shortly thereafter. Let's look at the stepping out forecast. Obviously,
really quite a major storm.
Dave Rodham runs the state's emergency management agency. It was a busy day in MEMA's underground Framingham bunker.
State control to Area 3 on the 800 area.
Experts keeping tabs on the risks across the state. On the coast, it was the question of wind direction, tide surge, and timing. By mid-afternoon, coastal zone officials breathed a sigh of relief.
What we have here is a very, very close situation, and to be something that close, we were better off being prepared than sorry later and not prepared for it at all.
Inland, we were lucky too. Even as the snow piled up, the road stayed open.
And the reason for that is twofold. One, the kind of snow. It's a light, fluffy snow that has a low water content and is easy to move. The most important thing is that people for the second or third time in the last month have taken a day off, kept off the roads.
And probably the most important thing, or one of the most important things Massachusetts state emergency management officials did today was help the city of Baltimore. They had more than 2 feet of snow. They don't get much normally. Baltimore officials called up here and asked the state, how do we get rid of all this snow? Massachusetts had to explain about hiring contractors and dumping snow in parks. I'm Mike Lawrence, 7 News, live at the Emergency Management Agency, Framingham.
And Mike, as you mentioned, we are not the only ones digging out from the blizzard of '96. Our neighbors are going through the same thing. On Rhode Island highways, plows and sanders are also working overtime. How does it compare to the storm people still talk about, the blizzard of '78? 7 meteorologist Michelle Michaels is live in Boston with more on that. Michelle?
Good evening to you both. You know, relentless winds today combined with pounding snow made for near whiteout conditions all day long, and hour after hour the snow continued to pile up. And during that time, as the storm clock ticked on and on, we watched the snow pile up as the blizzard of '96 made its way into our memory banks and the record books. Last night, it quickly became evident that New England was in for a walloping of historical proportions. We watched in anticipation as everyday operations came to a grinding halt in D.C., then Philly, and finally New York City. But would it? Could it rival the granddaddy of them all? The measuring stick of storm severity since it paralyzed the Bay State 18 years ago and kept winter weather on our minds? The snow was heavy, but the duration much shorter this time around. An impressive 18 inches still could not rival the 27 back in 1978, an all-time record snowfall for one single storm. The coast today also heaved a sigh as midday high tide splashed ashore with only minor damage reported. Certainly no match to the 4 vicious bashings that resculptured the coast that February 18 years ago. Still, it was impressive with the track and intensity complementing the Barren Cape with snow measured in feet rather than inches, a pounding not repeated since January of 1987. Back then, as in 1978, just as you find today, with a few fashion refinements, a New England legend that rivals all storms and tames the toughest forecast. Hey, I know that guy. Well, here we go as the storm continues to slowly wind its way down. We had 15 inches of snow on the ground before it even began. 24 hours later, we now have a snowpack of 29 inches deep. That is good enough to tie an all-time record of the record amount of snowfall at one time on the ground. That was set, of course, by the infamous blizzard of '78. And it looks like the blizzard of '96 will finally do us some justice. Reporting live, I'm Mish Michaels for 7 Weather.
Mish, thank you. The totally hip Harvey Leonard,
That's right.
don't you think?
The elder statesman of weather now, I guess we can call him.
We'll have much more from him, I'm sure. That is 7 News at 5:30. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kathy Marshall.
And I'm Lester Strong. Stay safe and dry. 7 News at 6 is next.
The blizzard of '96 is one for the history books, and it's not over yet. Heavy snow and powerful tides causing big problems on the South Shore. In Chatham, at least one home is on the verge of falling into the angry sea. Homeowners are keeping a close watch. On the roads, plows are working round the clock trying to keep up. It is treacherous out there. And call them